Hi, team. This is George. I'm excited to get started in week two. First off, though, week one, thank you for putting forward a purposeful effort to be highly engaged in class. I know what it's like to be an adult learner and the effort that it does take because there's many things pulling at us for our time. So I want to just to say thank you, and you've done a great job in the first week. So let's just keep that momentum going. We're on the fantastic topic of staffing and cultivating culture. And within this, we have some excellent videos and our readings, our textbooks are outstanding this week. They're excellent every week, but they're very useful information this week that you can apply on the job. That's what I really like about our textbooks, especially the Lencioni textbook. It really gives us stuff that we can use, and that is highly important. So let's take a look really quick. We have two discussions this week. Week two, discussion A, you're going to look up a topic. You're going to find a topic. So now your classmates are also finding topics. So if you see a topic and you want to use it for your signature assignment, feel free to do so. Because you may want to dive in deeper, see something that catches your attention. Feel free to use any of those topics that you see in the discussion forum. And then we have a discussion about legal considerations in hiring. Have a good story, a quick story towards the end of this about legal considerations in hiring. But I wanted to talk about culture from an experiential perspective that I have as far as organizational culture. Because what's interesting, and why do we care? Why is it important? I guess that's the big question to start with. But in organizational culture, so we'll just call it I can't, culture, we have this fantastic thing that's called, if it was just a society, we'd call them social constructs. But generally in work, we call them organizational constructs. And why these are important and why do we care? Because a construct, right here, a construct is our belief system about something. So if it's an organizational construct, it's our organizational belief about things. And these can be different than social constructs. So what do I mean by that? So let's take a look at something like hiring people with disabilities. What is your organizational construct towards people with disabilities? Is there an underlying feeling of they can do the job well, they can't do the job well? What's the belief system or organizational construct towards hiring individuals who may have a disability? So that's why they're important, because those constructs are what make up our culture for the organization. So organizational constructs feed right into organizational culture. Our feelings and belief as an organization are what become our culture. And why is that important? Why is what we think important? Because as individuals uh, and as an organization, my favorite quote is from John Wooden. It says, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. So imagine what our constructs, if we think we can't do something, can't get a contract, can't work this way, can't do this, imagine the effect that that has on what we're actually able to do. So oftentimes our organizational culture is a predisposition to our success or failure. That's what I've seen why it's important. So that's why I kind of wanted to add to that. But most importantly, I want to challenge everyone. How do you speak into organizational culture as either a formal leader, informal leader, or a team member? Because we can all speak into our organizational culture, and it's different wherever we are, and we're all different people. So the way we approach this is different as well. So I just want to challenge everybody to pause and reflect and think of our organizational culture and wherever you're employed and how you speak into it, and how maybe if something's not exactly as you'd like it, how can you speak into it to make changes within that organizational construct? Because that leads me in my story about hiring. Let's jump over here and talk about, and talk about Legal considerations in hiring. Okay, I was in charge of testing, and we would test to get people um, to work. There would be written tests, there'd be hands-on tests if you're manufacturing, um, and little things that we didn't realize at the time because we simply didn't know until we reached out to an outside vendor to come in and help us. We didn't know what some of the issues are. Like, for instance, something as simple as giving an administrative assistant a typing test was seen as, if it blocked people from getting in as the administrative assistant and we required 90 words a minute, well, there are no more typing pools. So people generally do not have to type that fast. You have to be able to use a word processor. It's not about the speed of typing, it's about the documents that you turn out. So how to use a word processor. So we were using an old paradigm, an old testing tool for testing the speed of someone's typing when we needed to be testing how are they able to create documents? Are they able to use Microsoft Word? That was one of the primary pieces of software that we use. And were they able to learn things? So they had to have a base knowledge and they had to be able to learn it as well. So how did we come up with this base knowledge? We came up with that through the job description and then going out and interviewing people who are new to the job, who were, let's say, a journeyman or a mid-level at the job, and then people who were experts or masters at their job. So we would do that, and we would run through a task analysis and find out why those tasks are important. I'll show everybody the task analysis within the discussion because it's a neat tool that we use, and it was fairly automated, but it took people to do the input. So there's so many things to consider, especially we were a federal contractor, so we had to make sure that we weren't having any testing procedures that were causing disparate impact. Were we trying to hire flight line mechanics at one time, and the number of female flight line mechanics was 3 out of the whole plant. And why? Well, because our test need to be upgraded, updated, and not just the test, but our recruiting for people to take that test had to be changed as well, where we were going and how we were going about it. So it's a very system-oriented approach, and it starts with the recruiting and follows through to the testing and the 60-day period once folks were hired in. So we made a lot of mistakes. We righted the ship, if you will, because it was important that we got the right people in there. And one thing about testing is if you don't have the right test, you're keeping the right people out. So you might hear people make comments such as, well, you're watering it down. You're making it too easy to get hired. No, you're making it right because you want to get the right people in your organization. And when I say the right people, they have the right skills, they have the right knowledge, they have the appropriate level of abilities and things like that. So if you're hiring a flight line mechanic and everybody's failing a written test, you need to look at why. And that was one of the things that we did. We had to look at where we were recruiting people from, why people were failing the test. Did the test need to be rewritten? And our short answer was yes. And we had to create a hands-on test because that was important. So the baseline knowledge could be tested, but it needed to be sure that it aligned with the requirements of the job and not just what one or two people thought. So this is going to be a fun conversation. I love talking about hiring and all the considerations that go into this, as well as core issues with the organization. So I hope everyone has a fantastic week this week. I'm going to upload another interactive video on assessments, and I'll see you in the discussion forum.